Hi guys, a very warm welcome back to Motorhome Adventures. It's good to see you again. So in this film we're going to be looking at some of the costs of our travels. We've owned the motorhome now for how long?
Fraction over 2 years now. 2 years in a month, can you believe that?
I know. So Bob's been putting together some data to reflect the costs involved in about 2 years of ownership of our motorhome. Because you love data, don't you?
Well, it has been known.
He does love data, I can tell you. Spreadsheets galore. And also you put together some data for our trip earlier this year. We went to France, which was absolutely fabulous. We went for 6 weeks in May, didn't we?
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
So Bob's been working hard. The computer next to me has been burning with Bob on fire doing his spreadsheets.
Without further, those of a nervous data disposition, you can look away now. So that's where it all started. Back on the 22nd of May, I trundled down to Black Horse Farm, CAMC site, before obviously heading over on the tunnel. And then it took us all the way through France, right through to the 5th of July, as you can see there, with our return home date. So you can see some of the prices there on the right. That was the sort of overall campsite prices. You can see obviously that was a good stop, because it didn't obviously cost us anything to stay on that lovely Erda camping in Morzine, in the most beautiful mountains there. But then as we then travelled away from Morzine and on down towards where it was eventually northern Spain, we had a mixture again there, a couple of free park ups, that camping Lapinade, which was lovely, remember from that film there. Of course, that wonderful stop in Lake Annecy, which was just a fabulous, fabulous spot. That probably on our go back to list, as a lot of you have said on that film. And then, of course, that lovely Rabina Resort in northern Spain there, northeastern Spain, which was just a lovely venue and so well equipped there. Then we dropped down onto the Med at Camping Saint-Gulf, which you remember, that was a nice one right next to the coast. We then a little bit further north and east up to that incredible Verdon Gorge, another one that's definitely on the we'll go back to list, which was absolutely stunning. Love that place. And that lovely basic but perfect Camping Municipal Les Ruisses. That was lovely. And then sadly, of course, as it always is sadly, our steady drive back up France towards the good old tunnel crossing back to Tenby. As I say, getting us back on the 5th of July. So what I also did was keep a track of this year, keep a track of a little bit more data. So over this side, I've kept a track of a lot of our costings, be they eating out, sort of just standard grocery shopping, days out, day trips, things like that, electric boat, and the lift passes in Morzine when we went walking and stuff. And then obviously some gifts and various van bling that you always get, don't you? It's always got to buy some van bling. So the master, if you like, the master totalizer is over this side of my little spreadsheet, which then includes everything from the very start, which was the crossing over to through the tunnel, of which 225 quid we got off using club card. All the campsites that go down the list there, and then we start getting to the interesting stuff, which of course is the overall costings. We're still on the cover for the van from new, which lasts for another year till 2024. So we've got standard Fiat breakdown cover still from the new van buy. Travel insurance we didn't take out for that trip because we had a sort of family thing running then which covers us, so that was just an ongoing annual thing. So there you can see that ferry or the tunnel crossing, which was in spring this year was 345. minus our 225, so it meant that we didn't pay much, which was great. Motorway tolls, that was an interesting one. We obviously paid in total £235.71. So it was actually quite an amount, really. I guess a lot of what we were doing in spring was sort of dodging storms, because Europe was quite stormy at that time of the year. So we did a bit of zooming down to northeastern Spain and then back out when we came out of there towards the Med and that. So that meant that we did a bit of straight lining to avoid some of the grey clouds that were around, which was quite successful, to be fair. We managed to find some lovely weather, as you saw. But certainly on our next trip, which we're hoping might be into October, then September, October time, then I'm going to try and make it a mission of mine to avoid all toll paying and just see what that's like. But interestingly, just seeing small print there, I did do a sort of add up of roughly how much it costs to get from En Masse, which is right next to Lake Geneva, all the way to Calais, and we did do motorway all of the way just to see what it cost to almost do north to south of France, and that was £117.11 to go all the way up that sort of eastern to the east of Paris, and almost straight up on the motorways to Calais. So total site accommodation for all those days, 732, 800, just over 800 quid's worth of diesel. So Peggy, well, we did about 800 miles on the scooter. It was absolutely fantastic, as you saw from a lot of those little trips out that we did. So in total, about 95 quid on Peggy petrol, but we get about 60 to 70 to the gallon out of that with both of us on the scooter. So it's been a fantastic acquisition and really a great little economical thing to run around on, particularly as it was only cost about 3.5k to buy the thing in the first place, and that was new. So they are very good value, and so far, touch wood, hasn't missed a beat yet, so that's good. The Adblue, yeah, that was well, at the time that seemed expensive, but I guess that's probably not that crazy now. But I think I paid £34.53 for 10 litres in Tonon-les-Bains, which is again on Lake Geneva. So I don't know whether it was a bit of a fallout of some Swiss prices coming on there, because that's obviously expensive in Switzerland, but albeit Tonon, of course, is in France, but it's right on the Swiss border, so perhaps they hiked their prices a bit. So what I've done with the stuff down the bottom, the totals, I've got sort of two totals for you. One is everything, which is 4587, which equated to £101.93 a day. But I've also done, you can see in the slightly smaller underneath, I did a thing that I've called the basics, which is diesel, AdBlue, the accommodation as you've seen on the spreadsheet here, the crossing, the shuttle, groceries, and our euros that we swapped over. We didn't swap much, only about 400 quid's worth or 400 euros worth. So, in other words, I've taken out all the gifts and the dining out and all that sort of stuff, which of course were not insubstantial. You see dining out there, 800 odd quid, 870 quid. So days out, 246, and gifting sort of 270. So there's some quite big figures there. 1200 quid's worth there. So if you drop all the sort of non-essentials out, that would leave you with 3188 and running on sort of just essentials per day, perhaps catering completely in the van, down at perhaps £70 and 85 pence per day. So quite an interesting breakdown of cost, and in fact it is very slightly different to when we did the Croatia trip as well. Croatia with all the, again, with the sort of top line figures, so in other words, including all the eating out and stuff and gifts and bits and bobs, that worked out about £103 a day. You remember we were about 4 weeks it took us to go all the way down to Croatia and back. So again, that's looking like it's coming in at a fairly similar cost if you were planning some sort of trip away. I guess the perhaps you call that the low point, 101 the high. So you're perhaps looking at somewhere in the region of £70 to £100 a day for doing the types of trips that those two ones have done. If you haven't seen, incidentally, the Croatia run, then do check out the channel for some films of our run down through what was, 10, 11 countries. Absolutely lovely run down in 2022 when we did that 4-week run. So I'm going to cheat slightly and sort of jump forward in that the time where I'm making this data film also coincides with the fact that we're now just over 2 years, I should say, ownership of the van. So I've paid some of the year 3 premiums, like the tax, insurance and all those sorts of things for year 3. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the overall costings. I've got the one running for the scooter. That gives you an idea there. We're paying, we've averaged about 158 per litre cost. We're getting about 68 miles to the gallon from Peggy the scooter, which is fantastic. We've just hit about 1,200 miles now. And the sort of total amount that we've spent on getting the scooter onto the back of the motorhome, from buying it in the shop right the way through to buying the trailer, all the kit that goes with it, the covers, the alarms, the jacket, helmets, you name it, that's coming out at 6,800 in total. So you can see that the on-the-road cost for the scooter, once you'd added the VAT and everything, registration tax, was just up around the 4k mark. But then we've obviously added the other bits and bobs. So 6.8k on the scooter and now running at 68 mpg. So that's, and it has been a fantastic acquisition. It's been really useful in and around our trips in France. So I say I've jumped ahead slightly because all of this in yellow is actually our autumn adventure, which will be starting very soon on the channel. So do keep an eye on our films coming up in the next few weeks, which will be the start of our fantastic nearly 6 weeks we were travelling again in France. But it also means that October, when we came back almost straight to the NEC show at Birmingham, meant that we've now got a fraction over that 2 years, as I say, in terms of data. So in terms of the 2-year running costs, we've got some interesting totals coming through now. So let's have a look down those. We've actually now done 19,500 miles. Remember, it's that Fiat chassis, Fiat engine. And we've done in total now, as of October 2023, so about 2 years, 1 month ownership of the van, we've done 126 European nights away, 63 UK nights away. As we know that the average price of stays in Europe is less than the UK, but neither are outrageously expensive, even in today's figures. So I've just paid, because we bought the van in September 21, I've now just paid years 3 insurance and tax and all that sort of thing, together with year 3 subscriptions to things like the CAMC and Park for Night and stuff like that. So some of these figures obviously will apply right through to September 24, because that's when these things will be due again. So it's cost me about £400 a year to insure the van, making a total of 13. Road tax, well, it's 160, as you know, 165 for the PHGV classification for the tax, so 3 years worth now. Security subscription, that is when we got the van, it came with the Trackstar tracker, which is a Cat 7 Thatcham Cat 7 tracker, which is actually really good. You've seen me interact with it and talk about it while we've been away, and it's been a great system. And of course, now we were 2 years, we've just come to its renewal, because you get free for the first 2 years, and it was 399 quid to redo it for another 3 years. So this is now lasts me through to 2026. And I thought, again, that was a pretty reasonable price because it's a very good system. Can locate you down to the meter, lifetime tracking, and a great system. And probably, I don't think it's one on the channel yet, but I'll probably do a little film about some of the details and the other bits and pieces that the Trackstar system does. Diesel then, just over 2 years, 5,300 quid's worth, averaging about 28 pence per mile. Over that, Adblue, self-explanatory there, averaging about a penny a mile, so it's not outrageous Adblue by any means. And Cala gas, well, you know, I often keep a track of how much or how little gas we're using. So that's not too bad either in terms of transport. 300 quid though over what is over 2 years and a fair few days, 189 days in the van over its nearly 20,000 mile life, so that's pretty good. Campsite costs, that includes both European and UK, so we're 3.7k over the 2 years 1 month, which is an overall average of still less than 20 quid. So that's UK and EU sites thrown into the mix there. So there are the sort of year 3 subscriptions, because I've just paid most of those. Search for sites, Park for Night, nice and cheap those, aren't they? And then but that's the total, obviously, over the 3 years, not just an annual subscription. Camping car, you know, we've used them in France. That's just a £5 for life. Servicing, I've only serviced the van once so far. You saw the film of that on the channel, which was 160 odd. So I'm going to, now that we're 2 years down and we're back from yet another epic trip around France and another 2,500 miles, then I'm going to take Resi the Moho to the garage for a good old service, a fresh drink of oil, and no doubt a few other bits and pieces, a filter or two here and there, and hopefully not too crazily priced, which, knowing Rumbleways up the road from me, it won't be. It'll be good value. Total wise then, so 2 years and 1 month, 12,422 pounds, which averages out at 63 pence per mile. So quite some interesting figures there. Certainly we're starting to get a good flavour of what it's costing to take the van abroad with some of that previous data, you know, anywhere between 70 and £100 a day if you're making similar plans. But yeah, it's turning out to be quite interesting to see what the costings are, particularly those per mile costs of running the motorhome for now just over 2 years. I think we're getting some pretty good use out of it. I'd love to, of course, be going a lot more. Although our next trip in November 2023 is UK based. But no doubt we'll be planning already our next French adventure, or European adventure I should say, which of course will probably be spring 2024 before we're heading across on the ferry again. So a quick scan of the diesel and AdBlue sheet. That shows, there's the headline figures at the top there. There's that 5.3k in diesel. So 3,256 litres of fuel we've averaged over that 2 years, and by crikey, the price has gone crazy, isn't it? Where we first bought it 129, and then we've been right up round 180s, 190s. So a real crazy price situation in the last 2 years, as we all know well. But we've averaged basically £1.64 a litre across that, and we're averaging, according to our diesel usage, 26.79. And the highest of all of that, 26.79, but we've had as crazy as 34.4 to the gallon. That was without Peggy the scooter on the back, of course, and that was heading off to the tunnel from Tenby right the way across to Folkestone. So it must have been downhill all the way to get to 34 mpg. But we've had some, to be fair, we've had some when we were heading down to Croatia as well, we had some 30s and 31s. So yeah, it hasn't been too bad at all, I don't think, in terms of diesel use. So there you go, that's the data. Nikki will be fast asleep by now, if she's even bothering to listen to the data run. Yes, exactly. And no doubt I'll do a summary for you when we've come to the end of our autumn adventure trip. But anyway, enough of this. That was the data for not only our spring French trip, but also then our 2-year, 1-month overall data, which, as I say, gives you a sneak preview of the fact that we've just come back from 2,500 miles for an autumn adventure in France. So stay tuned for those films. Some lovely places we visited during September and October.
Well, we hope that you've enjoyed the film and found it useful. If you've managed to do some of your trips more cheaply, or it's cost you more, then please let us know, because we'd love to hear your comments. So any money saving tips, very welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. In the comments below, any money saving tips, our subscribers love those too. And of course, we like reading them.
Yeah, and if you've enjoyed the film, please do subscribe. We'd love to have you on board.
Absolutely, because, not least because, our autumn trip is about to start. Several films coming up, another 5 or 6 weeks in France, so stay tuned for some more of the beautiful French countryside and towns for our autumn travels.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the highlights will be the west coast of France, which we haven't really explored, and that was lovely, wasn't it?
Absolutely, so keep an eye out for that coming soon. Thanks, guys.
Bye now.
Take care. Bye.